Great morning, humans. Great morning, world. This is your boy, Dr. JC Doornick, aka the Dragon, and welcome to another edition of the Make Sense podcast and Make Sense Mondays. Very excited to be here, just coming off of a very interesting weekend. We just did our lacrosse tournament, so there's a little bit of that discussion going on, but also had the opportunity to go see Metallica with my 14-year-old daughter. So just feeling a lot of gratitude as usual here today. Great to see other people coming in and joining the live broadcast. So today we're going to talk about a very, very hot topic. You know, what we always try to do on Make Sense Mondays is provide you guys with something to grab onto in the realm of the things that make you go, you know, if we can get you thinking about things outside of what you're just programmed to think every day. You know, we always talk about capturing and claiming control of your mornings. That's what the essence of the Make Sense podcast is. And also Make Sense Mondays is to reclaim control as the dominant force and shot caller of your life. The only way you can do that is to actually think, right? Not just let your brain think and go about your day. That's your programmed thinking. But if we can capture a little bit of conscious thinking, well, we're going to have a great time. So today's topic is one that I know a lot of people are fascinated with, but we kind of put it on the back burner. And that is this idea of where does AI stack up right now, and what does it mean for human beings? So I call this one, will AI, basically what I call this is, will AI cause humans to get bored with human to human interface? Or on the grand scheme of things, why might AI cause the fall of the human race? I think this is a big fear, and we've heard a lot of conversations going on about this, and a lot of people quote, you know, the information from Elon Musk and things. And you've got one side of a coin is people are very, very excited about AI. And I would be one of those people, because if you learn how to interface with this tool, it's going to enhance your capacity. We'll talk a little bit about that. But if you're kind of looking at it and you're afraid of it and you don't have time for it and you just, you know, want to protect your position on it, that's always a fun conversation. You might see it just leave you in the dust. So this is a double-edged sword kind of a conversation, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. And I've got a lot of cool information for you. And once again, it's just going to be a choice. You know, we've all been granted this hypothetical idea of free will. So you get to choose. You get to choose. And I like those odds. I like the fact that I get to choose. And we also get to choose how this day is going to unfold based on our perspective and our perception, all which are modifiable. So enjoy yourself. Great morning great morning to all of you that are in the Make Sense Academy. I think probably filing in here right now for the live. And the Make Sense Academy is just our private community where we're doing things like this every day in a live format. We're gathering and we're becoming the shot callers, the dominant force of our life, by having live interactive conversations like this, and just really, really helping you become that conscious shot caller of your life, like I said before, by taking topics that are very, very interesting and relevant and using that wet piece of meat in your skull, in your dome, the way it was meant to be used. And, you know, look at this idea of rewiring yourself. We've spoken a lot recently about perspective and perception. Just remember that your perspective is a reflection of everything that you've learned so far. So that's that programming concept. So if you're waking up with the perspective you had yesterday, and it's booting up, and that is what causes your perception of the day. So if you're looking at the world through the lens of your perspective, that's how you're getting your perception. Good day, bad day, happy, sad, world is falling apart, AI is going to crush us, or something else. So by changing the way you look at things, which requires a little bit of an open and curious, you know, idea of allowing your perspective to change, If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Welcome to the Make Sense podcast. Welcome to Make Sense Mondays. So in the notes of the podcast, remember the podcast is going to be the cleaned up, edited version. It's shorter and things like this. This video that you guys watch live on Mondays will reside in its uncut. You might get lucky and see me really screw something up. But that'll always rest in the YouTube page. But the edited version will be in the podcast. And I'll also have the notes, like reflecting some of these articles or videos that I might refer to in this article. So let's look at this idea. Is AI going to cause the fall of the human race? So recently, one of the things that I like to do is I like to follow Elon Musk. Love him or hate him, he's got his finger on the pulse of this stuff. He's got these amazing new AI Autobots coming out with, I think it's called Grok. And there's a lot of interesting stuff here. And he's got a very interesting perspective of whether or not AI is a good or a bad thing. So I recently watched this. It's an 8-hour interview. So, you can either chop it up and get bits and pieces or do what I did. And I just buckled down and watched it all. And it was an interview on YouTube on Lex Fridman, Fridman, fantastic YouTube channel. Him and Elon Musk discussing the potential of Elon Musk's widely controversial concept of Neuralink, right? This is the Neuralink project. And Neuralink is Neura link. And that's basically, where Elon has created, in essence, an implanted chip, which your knee-jerk reaction to that is going to be like, freaked out, like he's going to put a chip in my brain, he's going to take over and stuff like that. I'm going to challenge you to recognize that that's already been done, right? You might not have a chip in your brain, but you might have a wireless chip, and that is coming to you via what you consume with regularity. We'll hit on that. But basically, the Neuralink project that he has, very exciting. It's very interesting, where he's going to take an implanted chip and place it in the brains of people. And this is probably about a year away. That's going to basically, in essence, upgrade the human brain to become more efficient at interfacing with reality. Now, that's not just interfacing with reality like we talk about. We're also talking about the brain's capacity to heal the body, or, lack of its ability to heal the body. And the Neuralink is going to help with that. So Neuralink is basically a company that was founded by him in 2016. Crazy to think about 2016 as a long time ago, but that's like coming up on almost 10 years ago. I think it's 8 years ago right now. So interesting. In 2016, that's developing a brain-computer interface called the Link, a brain-computer interface. So basically, he's looking at the idea of the interface between what you're watching right now, or this thing right here, your phone, and he's looking to improve the interface. So remember, I said before, you might already have a chip, but in a different way. Your chip is what you're watching right now or listening to right now. You're interfacing with information. He's just thinking about making it easier and putting it inside your brain. So it's surgically embedded. It's a surgically embedded neural chip that's implanted, and it's designed to decode and stimulate brain activity. Decode and stimulate brain activity. So it's not just about the interface. It's actually looking to upgrade your brain, not just in a learning capacity, but in a healing capacity. So Neuralink implanted its first device, believe it or not, in a patient's brain in January 2024. I don't know if a lot of people knew about this. Go look that up. And Neuralink says that its devices can help people with debilitating conditions and help them control external devices as well. So this is a fascinating thing. As a doctor, I was a chiropractor, and I deal a lot in the realm of wellness. I'm very fascinated with stem cells. I'm going to hit on that a little bit. The regenerative ability, the innate regenerative healing capacity of the human body as you age becomes less and less and less. And then there's things like disease and some of the inhibitions that people have. He's talking about improving that stuff. This is fascinating. So people that are paralyzed, for instance, from a stroke, a traumatic brain injury, or a spinal cord injury could see the benefits, the company says. So Just imagine somebody that has a neural deficit from something. Now all of a sudden you're like, hey, this chip sounds interesting, right? Before you thought it was just about taking over your brain and having Big Brother manipulate you. That's probably happening already anyway without the chip. So there's another hmm. So, in essence, Musk's interest is in solving the most basic challenges that we face with neuron damage. So, a lot of people don't understand this, but as we age, it's not just our muscles and our bones and things like that. It's our neurons, and our stem cells. Stem cells start to go dormant, and the natural regenerative capacity of the body starts to become less and less and less. That's the aging process. But then also from a memory standpoint and a healing capacity standpoint, we start to lose that. He's talking about improving that stuff. Once again, interesting. So including things like basic things like eyesight and hearing loss, et cetera. So acknowledging the real challenge that the body faces in not being able to do what it was engineered to do, and that is fix itself. In chiropractic, we always used to say, thank God the body heals itself. And the body does heal itself, but it becomes diminished and less and less and less as we age or face trauma or things like that. So the Neuralink chip is going to upgrade the body's innate ability to heal and regenerate. So stop there for a second and just catch yourself acknowledging that your initial knee-jerk reaction, this is a very big part of what I call the interface response system, is allowing yourself to stop and think, like I'm hoping you're doing on Make Sense Mondays or listening to this podcast. Allowing yourself to stop and think with an open and curious mind and catch your brain. In the beginning of this conversation, when I first mentioned putting a brain in your chip, your knee jerk reaction is no way, no way, no way. But now that we're looking at what it could do for you and how it could benefit some of the things that matter most to you, now you're starting to go, So wouldn't it be cool if you learned how to do that all the time? So this is what I teach in our private community, Make Sense Academy. Always just ask for information. You can try it risk-free for a month. It's $24. You get your money back if you don't like it. But this is the concept and strategy, a 4-step process I teach called the interface response system. So this is another level up and upgrade of your brain. And as you practice this 4-step system, your brain actually starts to fire off at a better rate and create healthier responses. But this is what I teach in there on a regular basis. This is a simple process of learning how to allow yourself to experience the knee-jerk reaction, like we just said, but then pause it, cognitively distance yourself from that programmed response and think about it. Openly take the right protect switch off of your brain and start thinking about what other aspects, what other perspectives and vantage points you could have. So that's what we're doing. So an interesting side note, as I was in this headspace, a lot of you know that I'm in the health and wellness, industry, doing that for 20 years, helping people lose weight, nourish their body, and things like that. Thousands and thousands of people. Uh, Sometimes people don't know that you could reach out to me for that as well. I have an enormous army of coaches that I've helped train, and we have an amazing system and strategy to handle this obesity thing. But when I think about this stuff, I very often wander into a different realm. And I've been fascinated with fasting. And the reason why I'm fascinated with fasting is if you look at the research, all the research shows that the people that live the longest, which I think is a pretty cool idea to live longer, eat the least, right? So that's why I look at fasting. And my wife and I practice Buddhism. So, there's a lot of fasting going on in there. But here's an interesting side note that is connected to this idea of upgrading and up-leveling your brain, which is what we're talking about. Yes, I know that we're talking about AI. We're going to get to that. So I recently came across an interesting article that came out of Columbia University. Sounds pretty reputable. That unveils how fasting, this is a new thing that we need to acknowledge, right? This is that actual research that's time tested and peer reviewed, that fasting is proving to have a direct positive impact on the regeneration of old stem cells. Remember what I said, stem cells are like the fertile soil in which the human body uses that fertile soil to grow the cells that it needs for fixing things. Really, remember what I said, is the body Its number one task is to fix things and stay healthy. And that's connected to natural selection and survival and all that stuff. But what they're saying is fasting for even or practicing even a 24-hour fast, meaning no food, just water fast is my preference. And then moving, it's important to understand that if you fast, it's not just the fasting. The fasting has an amazing impact on the body, but if you, it's also very, very much attached to how you re-consume the food. You can't just fast and then have a pizza party. So just understand that fasting, it's very important to understand the re-entry to eating, and it's an opportunity for you to eat clean, right? So what I'm stating is that fasting is directly associated and correlated to the regeneration of old dormant stem cells. This is a big, big thing. So, and you also have to focus on eating. A lot of people fast just to lose weight. Not a good idea. So I might address that in Make Sense Monday next week, just because I think it's fascinating. But in that, back to this interview between Lex Fridman and Elon Musk, what I found most fascinating about that conversation on Neuralink and AI was when they began discussing a potential problem approaching us where humans, this is fascinating. And for you parents out there, you see this happening with your kids. There's a potential problem coming, kind of like a wave that we see building that is approaching us, where humans are going to get so accustomed, and we're already doing this. For those of you using Chat GPT, a lot of you are using AI and you don't even know you're using AI because it's so prevalent right now. But we're becoming accustomed to the extremely fast and efficient response that we get from AGIs. I'll explain what that is in a second. The response that I get from Chat GPT or any of these types of platforms or my phone, or even Google, is so fast and efficient without even knowing it. Can you see how that could make us potentially start getting bored with conversing with human beings? So now in the background, recognize that Elon Musk is talking about upgrading human brains. Why might that be an interesting and important thing? Well, we're moving into a world where, I mean, our kids are interfacing 90%, maybe even more, with each other through, another type of this neural link, and that's their phone, their computers, and stuff like that. But can you see how that could easily make you become bored with having conversations with human beings? It takes too much time. Like if you ask me a question and I think about it, right? Or I forget about, a memory or something like that, and I have to recall it or something like that. That's not an efficient use of time. We need things that are efficient. So this is a potential problem that they see out there. AGIs are very, very fast, and we're going to start getting bored and frustrated with the meticulous and arduous and slow response of the normal human interface response, right? So just to help you make sense, just in case you didn't know this, AGI stands for artificially generated artificial general intelligence. Okay. And this is a theoretical field of AI. So when you think about AI, you just think artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, and, all of these, AI generated avatars that are answering questions and things like that. But AGI, artificial general intelligence, is a theoretical field of AI research that aims to create software that can perform intellectual tasks like humans. So artificial general intelligence is basically a form of AI that is being crafted to replace the interaction with humans. More important, it further validates this idea that we might get bored with one another. It's already happening, including things like learning, reasoning, and adapting to new situations. So AGI powered software would also be able to self-teach and apply knowledge across a wide range of tasks and domains. Now, if you know that AGI is efficient and it fires off, why would you ask a human that question? I mean, you still want that old-fashioned communication, but from an efficiency standpoint, why would you ask a human something you could get right away and accurate from somebody else? We'll get into that. So, problem solving, perception, language comprehension, cognitive and emotional abilities, and consciously understanding the meaning behind its actions. Just a quick side note that just popped into my head. If you know that you can type something into like Chat GPT, like a paragraph or a book, and Chat GPT instantaneously can translate it into another language, think about how much time it takes you to learn a language. Even if you're fast at it, my friend Jim Quick will teach you how to learn faster and retain more and read more books. That's one of the reasons that he and I became great friends. He's just helped me so much, but not as fast as Chat GPT, right? Imagine if you had a neural link chip in your head and you can learn a language in like an hour, or somebody could speak to you and you could regurgitate that in any language and then speak whatever you want. So that's what we're talking about here. And you could be scared about that or you could be excited about it. It's really interesting, and you also have to recognize, if I don't have a chip and everybody else has a chip, what does that mean for me? I got to go out and live in the woods. So, problem solving, perception, language comprehension, cognitive and emotional abilities, and consciously understanding the meaning behind all those actions. So, what we're entertaining is that things like Neuralink could actually help us stay up with the advancements of AGIs and not become some sort of outdated software. Now, I'm 53 years old, like something like the 8-track or the floppy disk. We don't use those anymore. So what I'm entertaining is if the Neuralink starts to happen and starts to get distributed, like cars, across the world. I mean, if you think that's crazy, remember something. We just went through this thing called COVID, where we were instructed to get these shots put in our arm of some sort of chemical. Nobody really checked that out, and everybody said yes, right? And the reason why we did that is because of fear, but because of the outcome. How's that any different? If all of a sudden we know that everybody, social proof, everybody's doing this neural link thing, you're going to probably go to CVS and have that sucker put in as well. So in any case, you get the idea. So interesting to consider that as the aging, here's a parallel that I drew. As the aging process, transpires, it's very, very similar, right? What you see happening with old people, the idea that is that as we age, we're becoming like that old software, that 8-track or that floppy disk, in the sense that we become less and less and less until we're no longer relevant. And what happens at the end of life? We get discarded. Imagine if you could increase or elongate, which is what longevity is and anti-aging. This is a fascinating realm that I'm constantly researching. Imagine if you could not only stay healthier longer, but stay relevant longer. Isn't that interesting? What would happen if we used something like that on, some of the greatest minds ever? We would have gotten more information. What if we find out that Neuralink not only helps you stay relevant, but becomes more relevant, unlocking genius in your head? So once again, are you now still 100% no way, no how? Or are you starting to say, oh, maybe the advancement of AI is not necessarily a scary thing as much as maybe it's something that we just need to learn how to embrace and work with, right? So I don't become an 8-track. So Elon refers to the human brain's primary and secondary computational tools in the limbic system and the front. He basically is taking the limbic system and the frontal cortex, right? And he's calling them computational tools, meaning we're using our brain and our perception, our sense-making machine, limbic system, frontal cortex, and that's how we interface and compute and understand, make sense of things, and how they, in essence, are working together to basically interface and make sense of reality, as well as appease the natural human instinct to survive and thrive within the realm of natural selection. Remember, that's going on as well. We're all in survival mode in the sense that we're looking to stay up with everybody, and that opens another conversation of comparative realities and things like that. But that's going on in our brain all the time. Is we're using our brain, our primary computational tools to do that. So Elon makes a statement that we as humans are already in effect using another computational tool that is the likes of this neural link. This is the one of the main things I wanted to offer you this morning is you're using your regular brain capacity and it's either efficient or not. What I teach people is how to take your natural brain capacity and your computational tools and make it more efficient, create healthier responses. Not so much about being rapid, although that happens down the road when you practice, but more efficient, making better decisions, not getting sidetracked and distracted as much. That's my space. But what he's talking about is for those of you that are afraid of things like Neuralink, you're afraid because you don't want anyone messing with your brain. But he's saying that we already have a secondary computational tool like Neuralink that is just as relevant as things like our frontal cortex and our limbic system. And that, in effect, he calls that a tertiary level. That's technology. That's your phone, your computer, how they have now become part of your human interface. Think about that. Think about how your phone, you think your phone is just this resource for information and communication. It's another part of your brain. He's just looking to take that meticulous and arduous process, and it's silly to think about that, of pushing buttons and scrolling and just putting it in your brain. We've always kind of talked about that. So remember, Neuralink's main attractiveness is this idea that it can help heal disease and stem cells and all that. But from the standpoint of keeping up with AGIs and AI, can you see any other future? If AI continues to improve and we don't improve with it, beyond just the person that's interfacing with it, if we don't improve our brain capacity, we're going to become the floppy disk, right? So your phone, your computer has now become part of the human interface. So without implanting a neural link chip into your brain, right? We already have a neural link. It's just wireless right now. It's outside of the brain, but it's not as efficient as it would be if the neural link was in your brain. So I don't know what my standpoint is with this, but it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating and it's very, very relevant, and I understand it more. I don't have as much fear about it, and knowing that I'm not going to live forever. Sign me up. I'm in. So it's just not in your brain yet, right? But you're still using it. And I'm just sharing that because if you're afraid of AI, you're already involved, right? Unless you're living in the woods or something. So if you're frightened of the idea of someone placing a microchip in your brain that is not only going to upgrade your healing capacity, your innate healing capacity, but move you closer to a state of rapid learning and more efficient and rapid recall of memory and your responses, the likes of what you're seeing with AI tools like Chat GPT. Imagine taking your brain and giving it that capacity as well. Well, guess what? Understand if you're afraid of it, you're already doing it. You're already doing it. And for those of you that have ever lost your phone, when I was just on my Lake Placid trip, I lost my phone for about an hour. I felt like I lost an appendage. I felt like I had brain damage or something like that. I didn't know what to do. I got worried. So what was interesting for me is to say, wow, that's not a good sign. So Elon is just looking to take those devices, and help you avoid the arduous and strenuous act of pushing buttons and recalling info on apps, right? And putting it in-house, taking it in-house and allowing you to stay up with the Joneses, the AGI. Make sense, right? So this is one of those things that makes you go, and what I wanted to do today is just give you a different perspective. Remember, our perception of reality as we interface with reality, our perception, which is the outcome of it, what we think and what we label things as, is based on our perspective. So the idea of having a conversation like this about something that a lot of people are afraid of, some are excited, but most people are afraid of this idea of like robots taking over. That's a perspective, and a perspective is something that's built from your current life experience, your mother, father, teacher, preacher, everyone that's told you how to be like you. That's how you creating your perception. So if you don't like the feeling of being afraid because you're perceiving that the world is like a mess right now, well, then you would want to entertain this idea of changing the way you look at things so that the things you look at will begin to change. And you'll be able to look at things like AI and say, I'm excited about it. Would you rather be excited about something and embrace it like obstacles? We always say obstacles the way, right? Or you say, oh crap, I'm having a miserable shake at life because I have obstacles. There's another example of it. So in the realm of AI, I think it's a choice. You either get on board with it. I'm not saying put a neural chip in your head. That's just a perspective shifter right there. That should maybe open the door to get curious. And if you're at that phase of life right now where you're thinking, you know what, I just don't care anymore. I'm just going to enjoy life and pig out and just have fun. You know, this idea of just peacefully dying of old age is kind of an illusion. I'm 53 years old and I can feel aches and pains in my body. I love the idea of playing with cold plunges and experimenting with all sorts of natural things that can help me regenerate and things like that. Why? Because I don't just want to live longer. I want to live a more relevant life, right? I want to enjoy, because there's many, many things that I still want to do. So I'm not ready to fold yet. So when I see AI coming, I guess this is my final note on it. I'm open and curious to it. I'm not stupidly, ignorantly just signing up for things like I didn't when I heard about the vaccinations, right? I'm going to stop and think about it. But my take on this is that AI will only be the fall of the human race if the human race doesn't embrace it, because it's not going to stop. Technology is moving faster than us. If we don't find out how to move with technology, or maybe even become the dominant force of technology, well, then yes, it will be the fall of the human race. We will become the floppy disks and the 8 tracks, no longer relevant. But I think we have an opportunity here, and it's very exciting. And why does that excite me? Because it's going to enhance my experience. That's what I think we're here to do, is to experience life. I don't know what happens after, but I'm interested in anything that will enhance my experience in life, but also, give me the ability to, you know, enjoy the things that matter most to me more: my health, my family, my children, and just travel and experiencing all sorts of, fun adventures and things like that. So I'm excited about it. I'd love to know what you think about that. So thanks. This has been Make Sense Monday. I'll see you next week. If you're interested in joining our mastermind, we do that every day, and that's in the morning. We record them all. We use the school platform. We have all of our online courses and everything that we ever teach. It's all included in that. If you're interested in that, just send a message to me that says "Make Sense." Follow me on Instagram. You can reach out to me in many different ways, and we'll give you access to that. And that's $24, but you get your money back if you don't find value in that. So have an amazing day, and thanks for being with me.